I think just a couple little changes I wanted to Laura called it.
Okay. Is this the one you emailed out or is this the one right now?
It has that one addition, so it's very minor.
Okay.
By the way, I've had this, you've been going out for a while.
Those, oh, girls. I'm gonna need an agenda. Looks good.
No, I wanted to show this to you. You never wrote my photo.
From then, oh my gosh.
Ah, agendas. Yep, thanks.
Years later.
I think you got the right something now.
I promise. Is that Barbie?
Yeah.
We went to elementary school here.
And I want to show you something that was really funny. Talk about the application, huh? In grammar school. Nothing's changed. You're not funny or what? Okay. Already hot. It's already hot. You guys have agendas out there?
I'm sorry, what? Yeah.
Megan's not able to make it today. Megan not able to make it.
She's always late. Yeah. She runs late.
Not sure. But we're expecting her.
You know, I will always the same practice last night.
Rather than a little group. All right, we will call a meeting to order. And at this time, any discussion regarding the minutes of the meeting?
Did you ever check on the figure in the treasurer's report?
I could, that's what I had written, and he was saying, I know that sounds awfully high, huh? You're right, it does sound like.
I had 104 something, but I couldn't read my writing.
Oh, you know?
Anybody else write down the figure that Hank mentioned?
You sure that that's not maybe the billings, you know, the amount of the taxes that were, no, that sounds about right, because April, he said there was 93,169.
Yeah, I had written down a different amount than you have, though, so I was hoping that either Hank or somebody could clarify it.
Last month was total balance at the end of adding in something coming in, a deposit, would have been 105,473. And then that's the number I wrote. So, and he didn't send me any corrections when from your email.
Well, he's out of town. He's out of the country, so I doubt he's been in this figure for April.
105,473. Yeah, this was what he said for as of a few days ago in May. So
Yeah, it was as of 4/23/37. And then he had plus 17,666 to total, so that 17 was coming in, I think. The total 123,139.
So we have a different amount.
no, she's talking about, it's consistent with what I had in April. But it could be off by a few dollars or a few pennies if I wrote it wrong. But I don't know what the difference would be. That's the number I wrote down.
Any other corrections or additions to the minutes? second that we approve the minutes of May 28th. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we'll go into officer and director reports. Brian.
June expenses total $15,235.20, and they consisted of director fee, an office expense reimbursement or envelopes, a dead tree replacement, our holiday decor deposit, and a permit fee for the White Oak project, $10,943.60. So that's the big one in those monthly expenses.
Do not sign that. I'm sorry, Mr. Roger, in case you want to take a meeting. Do not sign that. I'm sorry.
My notes on it.
Um,
Is this mine?
On funding assessments, I assume, without Hank here, can't confirm, that the $24,373, which had been invoiced as of our last meeting, has been received. And then in addition, there's another $15,214.14 that was invoiced on June 20th. With those, the age delinquency of dues is currently $6,471.64. So that's what would still be able to come in for the current tax period.
So this is from the spring, most recent spring.
Between fall and spring, there's two parcels that are delinquent on both.
I see. Because we were actually doing pretty well on.
Yeah, we just had the prior years, which is about $1,000 or a couple hundred.
So this is just as of recent.
Yes.
It's two parcels?
I think so. I looked at the last redemption report. I think it was 2 or maybe 3 parcels. It is, yeah, just 2 parcels make up the 6,500. The city does, or county? The city does the collections, whatever the process is, penalties and everything. And a lot of times, I don't know, well, these are probably not each, but I know the ones from 2009, 10, 11, those are all on some recurring payment plan. And so every quarter or so, we get a couple $100. The DWP grant is in, it's June. I get the check in the mail hopefully by July, which would be consistent with prior years. The medallions, we got a 3-year warranty. 2-year warranty for winds up to 110 miles per hour. That the engineer certified, whatever you want to call it. So now with that, he's going to do the retrofit or whatever it is to get that and then put them back up. So hopefully by our next meeting, they're back up.
Great. Did they ever explain? Do we have an idea what they did to retrofit?
I didn't tell him. There's been so many ideas bounced around. I can ask, I don't remember.
Yeah, it'd be good to get those back up, so that's good. Alrighty. The financial tax returns are completed.
Just trying to keep out on my.
That's
Two dead peasants.
Tax returns and financials are completed.
They're done, and I was hoping to have them by today so that we could review and get them approved, but I don't have them yet. So the next meeting, we can vote on approving them so we get them filed.
Are there any questions for Brian or the board? Anything so far? Alrighty, report of the secretary.
No additional report.
Hank is not here. Report of the vice president, first vice president, or report of the second vice president.
No additional report.
My only comments, I just want to be sure that, I think we're still scheduled, Brian, to to be in attendance for the Granada South Neighborhood Council meeting in July? Do we have an agenda?
No.
We have to
I'll talk about
email
it.
and
I'll
ask.
talk about it on the agenda.
Okay. And I'm absent, I'm gone that day. We have
For
the,
their meeting? What's their meeting?
it's July 3rd.
July 3rd. Okay, we'll let Brian cover that information later then. Okay, public comments, this is the portion of the meeting that's open for comments, and we have a couple guests here today. And so please introduce, we'll start with
Hi, I'm Linda Williamson. I guess forgive me for having everything written out, but that's the way my brain works. I'm not very impromptu speaking. So, as you know, I'm involved with the project to work with Mayor Garcetti's office because there's a number of residents in Granada Hills who'd like to participate in the Mayor's People Street program that creates plazas, parklets, and bike corrals. Particularly, we're interested in creating a plaza at the corner of Chatsworth and Zelza. And about that, Monrovia has Monrovia Village, Santa Monica has 3rd Street Promenade, and soon Woodland Hills is going to expand Westville, Topanga into an outdoor pedestrian-friendly experience. And those are all great places, but every time someone who lives here goes there, it means dollars are leaving Granada Hills. And the popularity of those neighborhood shopping districts is proof that people want outdoor, walkable community spaces. And the reason I'd like to see Granada Hills participate in the City of Los Angeles' People Street program is so that we can keep more of those dollars here in the Granada Hills business community. We've had great success bringing foot traffic to the community with the food truck nights, but the only problem with food trucks is that they're on wheels. They come and then they go. That's why I think we need to create a source of foot traffic that's community-based, community-rooted, and encourage community control, and encourages people to linger in our central business district, not just on Friday nights, but every day of the week. If you've seen how packed Menchie's is on a Friday night during the food trucks, it's not that hard to imagine that it could be the same way on a Sunday morning during a farmer's market, or on a Wednesday afternoon after an aloha hula regatta dance recital filled with parents and kids, or after a Tuesday morning fitness class. And I spoke with the owner of Amante Custom Frame Gallery, and he told me that several times a month, people come into his shop looking to purchase something they saw when they were standing in front of his window on a food truck night. And people can't see his posters and prints when they're driving by at 40 miles an hour, but when they get out and walk, they do. And I understand that they already voted this proposal down before I even had a chance to talk to you about it. And Mr. Miller, if you get caught up with your inbox or voicemail, you'll probably find about 5 or 6 messages from me. But I really hope you'll give this a second look, especially given the fact that I have 13 signed letters from business owners on the block between Zelza and Yarmouth who support the project. I really want to see if there's a possibility of working together on this project, of mitigating your concerns, of answering your questions, of taking a solution-oriented approach. And I understand that people see problems with this. The first problem was parking, but through working with Councilmember Klinder's office, we were able to find a way to mitigate that. I was forwarded an email from Bonnie Burst with concerns that the plaza would be unsightly. Well, my question is, how could it be with your beautification committee at the helm making all of the design choices that LADOT gives us? You guys have done an amazing job with the medians, and I know you can do an amazing job with this. Your email also expressed concern with the safety barriers around the plaza. That would be, quote, haphazard. Well, I admit I'm just a community volunteer, and the way I've gone about advocating for this project has absolutely been haphazard. But I'm not the one who would be engineering the planning and the design. The Los Angeles Department of Transportation would be. And I assure you, if it was going to be me trying to do that, you'd be smart to run away, but I assure you that DOT would do a far better job. The next problem is visibility for Menchie's. We're working to see if we can find ways to solve that. Traffic, there's solutions. Maintenance, there's solutions. Let's talk, let's work together. Because I have more than 600 petition signatures and counting from community members who say they want this, and I'm pretty sure a good chunk of them spend money in Granada Hills. So I'm asking if we can communicate, cooperate, compromise, and try taking a solution-oriented approach. Because what if we tried to solve the initial conflicts with the concerns we had over the food trucks by saying, let's just get rid of the food trucks? We wouldn't be the richer place that we are now. So I don't think Granada Hills has to be a place where people say, I think I see a problem, so let's forget it. I'd really like it to be a place where people say, I think I see a problem, let's see if we can work together to try to find some way to solve it. And I think that with all the resources we have at our disposal, Councilmember Englander's office, Mayor Garcetti's office, the Department of Transportation, I think we can do it. Or at least I think we should get together and talk, at least try. Thanks.
I would like to just comment more as an individual, not necessarily on behalf of the board. I know you've worked very hard, listening to, you've put in a lot of time. You stopped by my office and spoke to me a couple months ago. And I know the intent is to do something of good. I guess my only comment is, as I said to you that day, I think part of the problem is, naturally these kind of situations, it's never perfect no matter how you approach it. But number one, we have to represent our stakeholders also, even if it means one stakeholder. And the fact that I don't think we started with Jake, who's the owner of the property, on this, created a problem. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that things can't be done or looked at differently or compromised, whatever. I certainly, not speaking on behalf of the council's office, I know a little bit about the People Street project. I guess what's throwing me off in all this is here we are as a bid spending in a neighborhood of over $150,000 creating a plaza that does not involve necessarily changing traffic and what have you, which has all the approval of the stakeholders. And every person, in other words, when we went down this path of doing this market with Hawaii, the first thing we did was we went to the stakeholders directly effective. We said, are you in favor of this? And when they all signed off and said yes, then we proceeded. And that's not what's happened here. What's happened is that we have a situation where, well, I've got so many signatures, people in Rhode Island want this. Well, I understand that. But as a property owner who's paid taxes 45 years on Chancellor Street, quite honestly, if 30,000 residents say we want food trucks 7 nights a week, I'd say, then you buy a building for $1 million. You tell your tenants that you can't have access, and on and on and on. This is not directed toward you, but it is directed toward, if someone says, well, would you like to have a plaza affecting Granada Hills? Anybody can answer yes to that. But if you go further and say, well, now this may affect the owner who's just spent $250,000 remodeling a building, getting a AAA tenant, and the tenant came here and said he's not in favor of this. Well, regardless of what is being jollied out, that's where I would start. Does the stakeholder want this? Does the tenant want this? And I'm not going to speak on behalf of what's best for Menchie's. I think, I would hope that they would know. So, I would be disingenuous if I did not say this in this public forum, because honestly, as one person on this board, that's my take on this. The People Street Initiative is a great initiative. I just don't know if that really applies to that critical juncture where we have all this traffic. I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. If there's a way of doing this still, I'm certainly open to it. I mean, why not? But from what I see right now, it almost seems like we haven't started from the basic situation. What does the affected property owner want? And so far, everything he has shared is he does not want this. And I mean, I have to start with that. I could care less if there's 30,000 names on a petition. I'm not running for office, and thank God I'm not affected by that. But I mean, that's my only.
I just want to add something to this. We've started this bid process, this improvement district, about 15 years ago. We hired architects and engineers and people who drew out plans with a concept of this entire area, including that corner. Actually, actually, over 10 years ago, we even had a plan drawn that, you know, to see what if it was closed, and what if we turned the parking into parallel parking, and serpentine the street, and all that stuff. And, you know, there were issues of parking and traffic flow and everything. And with a lot of advice from people whose job was to draw plans, to make it beautiful, we have been working on this street for well over 10 years, putting in the medians, changing the landscaping because certain landscaping didn't work, putting in, with the rotary, working on that corner for an incredible amount of money to make that Mayor's Triangle into something gorgeous. We put in physical labor ourselves for years before there was money for that. We mowed the lawns with the chamber because of how bad that corner used to look. The reason the food trucks are here is because we fixed the sidewalks all the way up and down the street. It's no surprise that they didn't just come out of the blue. They came here immediately when we made those sidewalks great. When we put we enlarged the things around the trees, you know, the dirt, and we cut out bad sidewalk and put in good sidewalk. Okay, that's when the food trucks suddenly came here, because with a plan that is approved by the people who actually pay the taxes, which is the property owners, you know, had a plan saying we were going to do this and this and this, and we're on a very tiny budget. We eke out the money just a little bit because we're single-story buildings, very small property taxes, very small allocation, and a lot of that allocation goes to maintenance. And now we have more expenses for maintenance because of the food trucks and things like that. But we have not a dime in this particular budget allocated to do anything that you're proposing there. I don't think that you can ask Mitch Englander's office for more money. They're doing what they can to help us. And our plans are not just to close off streets and do things, you know, haphazard. The reason it's taken us well over 6 months already, maybe 9 months, trying to get permits for the White Oak project, and that's another. This is the street. These are all things that are better, or at least as good as the street projects you're talking about that they're trying to put throughout the city. And because we affect public right of way, we have to get certain permits, and they have to check everything and make sure it's handicap approved, and that everything is you know, the impact for everything, and it takes a while, and they're working really hard on that. So it's not like you can close off that street and suddenly everybody is going to contribute money, because nobody has that money. And then even if they did, even if you got a really big donation, it's still unfair to ignore what the person who, you know, the business owners who put all their money into this street and say, well, we don't care what you want, because the residents who come here from, you know, blocks away or miles away would like to see your property closed off so that we can put up who knows what. Okay? It's just unfair to do that when people have worked for 15 years to turn this into a people's street, and we're still working at it. Now, I know I talked to Jerry Askew, and there was some discussion the other night, you know, that was about, can any of the People Street stuff be used for our project? If we could get money for that, great. But unfortunately, People Street is DOT's, Department of Transportation. They do very basic things. They aren't going to assist in getting permits that have to go through the whole procedure. So, you know, if you could focus though on your focus is great, okay, but maybe not that corner, maybe the whole street. If we can get more businesses in, if we can get more businesses that attract the people during the day, more restaurants, more seating on the sidewalk, that's what we need in this area, okay? And I appreciate your focus.
Well, I think the focus is a great focus. I mean, it's a new program for the city, and I think all of us understand what the intent is. It's just how to do it, and what's the best way. And is that the best way in that corner?
Well, I just want to clear up one issue, and that's that I think that there seems to be a perception, and I understand where this comes from, but I still like to clear it up that the backers of this, myself and other supporters, have an interest in steamrolling Jake and Menchie's and that That's absolutely not the case. This project is nowhere without their cooperation, and they very graciously agreed to another sit-down. And when I last spoke with Andy, the franchise owner of Menchie's, he said, well, I'd like to get more information that's not just based on guesswork and projections, which I think is wise and sensible.
Well, I would encourage that. I mean, I
And
guess.
And so he's been gracious enough to say that, to agree to another sit-down. And so in the meantime, I'm trying to gather data based on another similar project in another area of Los Angeles that's already been in place for 2 years. So he's very graciously agreed to review that data, and I think that that's the best basis to make a decision on. So basically, no one's trying to steamroll any property owners. My objective is to dialogue with people and to get whatever information, factual information I can to provide to people to help them make the most informed decision.
So you have a meeting planned with Jake and then she's.
Yeah, I'm going to, first I have a meeting planned with the community partner of the Sunset Triangle Plaza area, because I'd like to see what hard data I can get from those adjacent business owners, what information I can get about their experience of having a plaza put in their area, and then share that information with the property owners here. So far, that information hasn't been available yet.
Who are you thinking that's being your community partner for this?
That's still in the works. I'm talking to a couple of groups, but I don't feel, since it's all super preliminary, I don't think it's appropriate for me to put anybody on the line right now.
All right, well then, we're going to obviously, in future meetings here will be ongoing discussions and so forth.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to,
Absolutely.
to listen.
Absolutely.
I'd just like to say, I don't know that people really understand the process of how Byzantine the process it is. There must be 5 or 6 separate permits required just to do the white oak thing. So even if the board were to say yay, let's do it, it's still 2-3 years.
It's not, no, it's different things. This, People Street is designed, it's like a pre-approved plan, which we didn't have for White Oak. White Oak is a unique, non-standard permit procedure. So because we're putting, it's just two completely separate
But
processes.
there are parking mitigations within.
Yeah, there is
the permit.
design that needs to take place, but the basically non-standard items have already been approved. So they're also not going to approve for People's Street. I think when I dropped off that packet last week with some examples of the types of things you could put in, that's what's been approved. If DVs from that, not going to happen. But basically what DOT did was say, look, we're getting a lot of communities who want these types of infrastructure and public right of way. Let's put together